Hello and welcome to one more chapter with me, Alleena. So today is Wednesday, and you know what that means? It's time for Top 5 Wednesday. Top 5 Wednesday was created by Ginger Reads Laney on Goodreads, and I'll link to both the group and her wonderful, fabulous channel below so that you can be a part of our shenanigans every week. And this week's topic is top 5 favorite chapter headings. And so without further ado, I'm going to just show you my top 5 favorite chapter headings. The first book that I have for you is So You Want to Be a Wizard by Duane. And the reason I love these chapter headings in this particular book is not because of fancy artwork or script or anything, but because the titles are kind of cool. It reminds me, if you've ever read the story, of the fact that it's about a wizard's manual that our protagonist Nita finds. And it kind of reads like it already is the book, so it's kind of a little bit meta, and I kind of love it quite a bit. So this one has to do with one of the other wizards that I found, and it just suits him perfectly. I feel like even though it's like a younger YA book, maybe slightly middle grade a little tiny bit, this was one of my favorites growing up. And I highly recommend it, not just because of great chapter titles, but because it's a great book altogether. And number 4 is Caribbean by James A. Michener. I have no idea if I'm saying his name right. I tend to butcher the author's name, but that's okay. I read this book when it was given to me, well, most of this book when it was given to me as research for my pirate novel. And one of the best things I remember about it actually is the chapter titles. If you look, each of the chapters has like this little image that kind of shows how the chapter is going to go, and it's historical, and so it suits the story quite a bit, and I appreciated that. I appreciate the like ink and line drawing stuff anyway, but I thought, let's see if I can find another one. Here's another one, and I think most of the time they're kind of appropriate for the title, obviously, like this one definitely does. I think the artwork was kind of cool, and I haven't, most of the time, like, chapter titles will either be really great titles or have really eye-catching artwork, or they're just going to be like 1 or 2 numbers, you know, and I don't know, like, I think it was a good idea to have artwork, especially for this one. And it's kind of a strange story, because even though it looks like a history book, this is all fiction, and it's fiction told from the point of view of the place. And I suppose this is something that he's really good at and that he's done for a while. I've only ever read about half of this book. I moved in the middle of reading it, so I put it away and just found it recently to put on my shelf, so I'm going to have to read it again, but I still remember the chapter titles, and I think I love them. I think it's pretty cool. So that's number 4. So the next book that I have for you guys, number 3, is The Children of Hurin by J.R.R. Tolkien. It came out in 2007, and the artwork is phenomenal in this one. I just wanted to show you some of the artwork that is in this book. Every single time an artwork pops up, the very next page is a new chapter, and every chapter heading has this really cool artwork. And it's very, well, obviously, I'm sure you guys know by now I'm a huge Tolkien fan, but like super, super fanatic about the artwork. I've been given books that just have artwork by the different artists that worked on different versions of his book, all the way from the very earliest copies to the very new copies, which are on my shelf right behind me, if you look. Just up there. And yeah, so these chapter titles, let's see if I can find one more just to show you how awesome the artwork is in here. So here's another one if you can see it right here. And I love it. Like, all this fantasy artwork from Tolkien's books, all of them, is always super enthralling to me, and I love it. The cover is amazing, the book itself is amazing, and even though it's kind of plain under the jacket, like, all this artwork's in this book, and I love it. So I've had this one for quite a while since it came out, and I'm super happy that I have it because, like I was saying before, I think the beginning of chapters, or having artwork in general in books at the end of chapters, is my favorite thing ever. So it's eye-catching, it's more than just a number, and I think it's something that is really kind of cool as for a reader as you're going through the book to kind of see how the author is organizing their books and what images make more sense for the storyline. I think that's pretty cool. So that was number 3. And number 4 is going to be any of the Harry Potter books. I have a bunch of them on hardback, but it doesn't matter because even the paperback with this artwork had a bunch of really cool chapter titles. I mean, I haven't really seen any of the new artwork ones or ones from different countries, but these were the first ones when I was young that came out, and I actually really enjoyed the chapter titles. So let me just find one for you guys. So this one is the third book, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and this one was always my favorite growing up. This is my favorite even after the last books came through and everything. The first one is always going to be like a special place in my heart, but the third book was my favorite. And so this depiction on this chapter is pretty telling. I loved all the artwork in any of the Harry Potter chapters. That's why this one comes in at number 2. And I just love the artwork. I think the chapter headings in these are super fantastic. And 10 out of 10 would just recommend just to look through them in the bookstore, especially if the new editions have even cooler artwork inside. I don't know, I haven't had a chance to look. I probably should next time I'm downtown at the River's End, but super impressive. As a kid, I think these were the first books that I saw that weren't just numbers or font, and actually the chapters had titles, and I think it was cool when I was younger. And I don't know, like I was saying earlier, it just shows you the kind of thought that gets put into presentation for your chapters. And I think that can be super important, especially if you're trying to get new readers, might not be like as interested in writing or reading or anything like that. So having a little bit of artwork kind of speaks to them a little bit more, I think. And I think it's fun and cool, and get an idea of what the characters look like. So there's always that. I think that's always cool. And finally, coming in at number 1 is my favorite research book for my novel, which is about pirates, and that's The Pirate Primer. Okay, first of all, this book, it's beautiful. It looks like burnt paper. You can see like along the edges in the actual book, they did a really great job with presentation. But my favorite thing, because I don't know if you're noticing like the outfits or anything, but I like skulls a lot, skeletons, and these kind of like, I just love it. So in general, pirates, skeletons, all great things for me. The chapter titles in this particular book are really cool. Each time that a new chapter pops up, you get this page that is blackened and it's lined with like this really cool pirate type motif, and I think it's cool. Like, as I said, the book is beautiful. You can see on the other page here, the book is beautiful. It's full of terms that comes from movies or books about pirates, and so you kind of get a feel for their language, which is exactly what this book is for. It's a language primer, and it kind of is like seafaring type stuff, and fantastic, if I do say so myself. I am known to occasionally use some of these things, and you might catch them in my videos. If you do, comment below and I'll see if you're correct, and I'll tell you where I got it in this book and what movie or book it came from originally, or maybe tell me because you might already know. But yeah, the chapter titles, and where there's sections, you also get this cool little pirate skull and crossbones thing. I don't know if you can see it very well on my camera, and the calligraphy, of course, is fantastic. I love calligraphy. I love this book. I love how beautiful it is for just being such a silly, awesome research book. It was well done. The author is fantastic, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend this to anyone who even just likes to watch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But this is number 1 for the chapter headings, and so impressed. And like I said, it's all about presentation, how you want to present your writing. And I know sometimes it's really hard because publishers like to do what publishers want to do, and that's perfectly fine. But if you have a say in how you present it, especially if you're self-publishing, I think artwork in general is a good idea because it's eye-catching and people remember this. And I'm sure if you watch a bunch of the other Top 5 Wednesdays, you'll see like a whole bunch of different books where people are remembering the chapter titles or the artwork in front of the titles. And you know, at first I thought this was going to be a pretty hard video to figure out 5 books to talk about, but the more I thought about it, the more I remembered, really remembered. I was impressed by these sort of things, especially when I was younger. That's why a lot of the books that I picked up were from a little while ago. But you never know. You never know who you're going to get to read your book or to keep reading your book if you have good artwork in there, if your titles are quirky and funny and intelligent. And so yeah, that's just my advice, I suppose, but that's also another reason why I like to keep reading. I like to notice these details, and so yeah, especially books like this that are just like put together so wonderfully. I could just keep talking about this book forever. It's fantastic. I know it's a research book, but I still love it because I collect quotes myself. I like to use them to practice my calligraphy and stuff anyway. So this is like basically a whole book of quotes It is 469 pages of collected quotes about pirates. That kind of speaks my language. It does. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this one. 10 out of 10. All the books, read them because the chapters are fantastic. The way that they begin, the way that each, especially like the Tolkien book, the way that they end with more artwork and start again with even more artwork. It's just beautiful. And I think there's something to be said about beautiful books. I think that's why we, at least I do, obsess over what kind of covers we have. Like I like when they match. Like if you can see my Tolkien ones up there, I like when they match. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they're pretty, they're great to collect, they're great to show off. And so inside the book matters too. Because I'm going to remember the artwork. That's the kind of person I am. I'm going to remember quirky titles and anything that made me laugh. So stuff like that. It's great. And yeah, that's the whole point, I suppose, of this Top 5 Wednesday. But anyway, if you have 5 or so books where you know that the chapter titles are fabulous and you want to share them with me, please comment below and I'll try and pick up the book so I can see it too. Because that's always the best part of BookTube, in my opinion, book recommendations. Right? And yeah, so thank you once again for listening to all of my rambling. And if you'd like to listen to more, please hit the subscribe button below and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!